All right, so we have a great panel of entrepreneurs here, and I'm going to let them introduce their respective companies and tell you very briefly what their companies do. But just for some context, we've got Berlin represented, although you're Danish. You are Polish, but based in London, and you are Estonian, based in Estonia. So just to set the context, and can you guys just briefly tell us your company name, what the product is, what you do? I'll start with you, Karoli.
So Jobbatical is helping to build borderless world through jobs. And how it does it is basically we have a community of ready to relocate talent. And we connect them to the globally minded companies across 44 countries. So basically, if you have a software developer who doesn't like what's going on in the politics and thinks that, oh, I will just move to Asia, so we will help him to move to Asia. Or if you have an entrepreneur who has developers who all have moved to Asia, then we will bring you new developers from other countries.
And it's a combination of job and sabbatical.
It's a combination.
Right?
No, it's actually a job. It's actually a new way of
But
working.
the name, Jobbatical.
It comes, the definition of Jobbatical is that today, in the world where people are moving around, you can create a career which actually matches your dreams. So if your dream has been to live in Asia or visit Asia, you can go there and work in a local team. If your dream has been to go to Spain, you can go there and work with a local team. That you can build a global company from any place on Earth.
Okay, great. Marta?
Thank you so much for having me. 5 years ago, I co-founded Azimo with the mission to democratize access to financial services to world's migrants. I'm very happy you touched upon the fact that we represent different hubs. 250 million people around the world are migrants, and as many as 1 billion send and receive remittances. These are these very brave, hardworking people who pack their bag, go to a different country, work jobs, and then not only work their lives, but also provide for families back home. And in a world where the likes of Western Union would charge them on average 10% to serve their families and send the money back home, we created Azimo to charge between 0.5% and 2%. And we do it through a website and an app on your phone. And we're also the first company in the global fintech space that allows you to internationally text money. We found that the biggest problem was that you wouldn't necessarily always know the details of the person you're sending money to, so trying to streamline that process. And yeah, I have 35 people in London and 65 people in Krakow, Poland.
Great. Ida?
Hi, everybody. My name is Ida Tin. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Clue. And Clue is a female tracking app that helps women understand what's going on in their body related to their female cycle. So it'll tell you when you can expect your next period or mood swings, but it also helps you understand correlations, for instance, between headaches and your cycle, or your sex drive and your cycle, and many other things. So essentially, Clue is a data company helping people take their experiences from their body, turn it into data so that we can run our machine learning and analytics on it to help you truly understand what's going on in your body. And we are 50 people from all over the world based in Berlin, and our users are from all over the world as well. Very global audience.
So, and we'll get to what it was like going around pitching a period tracking app to venture capitalists later. But my first question to you three is, can you talk a bit about why you decided to base your companies where they're based? All three of you have, a very international scope in what you're trying to target with your products. You're also international yourselves. You travel so much that I think at some point her desk was given to someone else at her office, and she's the CEO. So talk about why you're based where you are, and does it even matter today if you're starting a company? Anyone want to start?
I'm happy to start. I guess my situation is probably a little bit special by virtue of the fact that we are a regulated business. So prior to coming to London, which was 5 years ago, I had lived in New York, and there the need for accessible financial instruments is also very high. However, we'd have to get regulated in every single state to start the business in the US, as well as the fact that many migrants in the States are not banked. So that would make it much harder for me to render my services. So when I was coming back to Europe, I was thinking about a place where I would have good access to capital, access to a friendly regulator that understands the prerequisites for innovation, aka There are places in the world where if something isn't explicitly written in the regulation that it's allowed, then it's forbidden. And how do you do innovation in places like this? And then access to the single market, well, was very important for me, so that's a twist. And access to talent. And on all these four, London has been an incredible place. However, having said that, when we started the business here, and I very much believe that one of the reasons why Azimo has been successful is because we started the business in London. As soon as we raised the first $1 million in venture capital, I got on a plane to Krakow, where I'm from, and started an office there. Because of, again, we're essentially, a business is a selection of individuals that work together towards a common goal. Polish tech talent or Eastern European tech talent is famous around the world. So I've managed to, with much less capital deployed, and I always say it's not cheap labor, it's affordable talent. I've managed to hire some of the best in the industry at a place in this life cycle of my company where we wouldn't necessarily be able to afford the same in the UK.
Mm-hmm. So a little bit different story, but very much, I mean, our office is based in Tallinn, and actually our team is 27 people today from 11 nationalities. So people actually flew into Tallinn to build Jobbatical. And I think in general, this is the era that we are kind of moving into. Like, people move, and you don't need to be, like today 64% of the unicorns are built outside Silicon Valley. Mm-hmm. So I kind of wanted to prove myself that it's doable, and today being like in the position where just the fact that, for example, Union Square Ventures, who is our VC, New York-based, one of the top VCs in the world, invested into an Estonian female entrepreneur who's a mother. Mm-hmm. 10 years ago, this would not have been possible. And in a way, I was kind of trying to prove that, mm-hmm. and it proved possible, so.
Ida?
Well, we are in Berlin because we were building hardware and our technological partners were outside Berlin, but also because Berlin had this aura of, like, I moved to Berlin 6 years ago, and it was really the sense that the ecosystem around technology was bubbling up, and it was kind of the thing happening in the city. It was really exciting to be part of. And it was definitely more affordable, and then also I met a German man.
That helps. So, Marta, you touched on this a little bit, but as we're seeing some borders contracting, right? What are the impacts? Not yours, and we'll get to that too. But you know, you can become an Estonian resident even if you don't ever go to Estonia. It's pretty amazing. So you can all Google it and become Estonian residents today, maybe. But as you're seeing, you know, the impact of the post-Brexit vote, at least. And already net migration is down pretty massively in the UK, to the UK. What are the potential impacts to your business and to finding talent here?
So I'd say, I mean, to me personally, this outcome of the Brexit vote was a heartbreak. And I serve migrants on my day-to-day, and when you look at data, 17% of migrants in the UK start businesses versus 14% of Brits. Almost 500,000 businesses in the UK have been started by migrants. The surplus to the economy is unbelievable. 2/3 of people that come here already have a job by the time they arrive. So all the scaremongering that's been done, I found personally atrocious. When it comes to the business impact, I'm in a very fortunate position that I feel my business is going to be fine by virtue of the fact that we're 5 years old. We've had $47 million of investment. And I do see that impact in terms of talent, and 77% of my staff in London are migrants. However, because we're a brand that is a little bit more established, we also have a little bit more money. I feel businesses like mine are going to be fine. And I guess what that means, again, for a regulated business, if Britain does leave the single market, then we're going to have to set up operations in another country, which does not mean we have to move the headquarters, but we have to create an additional hub, which is unnecessary and is a cost, but for me it's going to be fine. Having said that, I have been saying for years that London is, or has been, we'll see about the future, the global hub for fintech. And if things change, it might no longer be. And I am more worried about the future generation of Martas, because I could have gone anywhere. I had never been to London prior to coming here 5 years ago to set up Azimo, and that was very much possible. But I think if I was setting up a new company today, or if I was setting up Azimo today, I probably would have not come to London. And that is just a real shame.
Would you have come to Berlin?
To be honest, today I would be definitely considering Berlin.
Wow. How about Estonia, may I suggest? So talk about, from your perspective, what are some of the things that your government, your city has done to make it a friendly place, not just for tech, but for entrepreneurs?
And for humans in general.
That
I think this is like, there's one core thing that Estonia established, it was years ago, which is called X-Road, which is basically like a backbone of all. So basically what it means is that you have one identity, and with that one identity you can get access any service. Like for example, I was sitting in Korea airport, and I did my taxes in March within 2 minutes online. I set up Jobbatical from a cafe within 10 minutes. If anything takes more than 10 minutes, people get frustrated in Estonia. So public office is really kind of like so country has in a way become like a service, and they are servicing people. And everything has to be seamless and simple. And in a way, I think this is again, when we talk about new hubs and we talk about talent moving around, then I think the user experience of the country will become a crucial thing. Like, why should you go to any country which will, where the immigration process is just making you feel bad, wasting your time, where you have to do paperwork that doesn't, where you could be with your kids, for example. Like, so you're spending time on things that don't make sense. In a way, it's like if you imagine you have a Word document and then it will take you 30 minutes to find a button to save. So in a way, country is something that we are using or consuming, and I think countries have to start thinking about that. And it's just I remember the last week I had an interesting conversation, something that I noticed the Minister of IT and Entrepreneurship, she was introducing the plan to bring thousands of highly skilled immigrants to Estonia to support the businesses, and what are all the services they will do for that. But in that conversation, she didn't say highly skilled immigrants. What she said is our customers. She said, let's ask our customers, where are the stumbles? Where are we going? What are we doing wrong? Why they, why and when they decide to leave? What are the things we need to fix? And when you start to call people who are coming to your country to contribute into, work, knowledge, and taxes as your customers, I think you switch in the way you actually think about your country.
Interesting. I want to go to all of you for questions in just a minute, so be thinking of questions. But can you all describe the fundraising process? Where did you raise money, and what was the experience like? I believe it's about 10% of VC-funded companies are started by women or so.
Well, if actually at least in the UK, in 2016, 2.7% of VC money went to women. Let's just let it sink in. 2.7%. And if somebody tells me that there is no funding gap, then, well.
It's a pretty big one. Do you want to start? Do you want to tell us about?
Sure. So I guess I was in a very privileged position in the sense that I did not do Azimo myself alone, and I think this is probably a case of very many people. I co-founded Azimo with two fantastic entrepreneurs, both of them male. And I think this probably really helped us. We did not run an A/B test on that one, but from my numerous experiences with investors over the years, and we started with angel investing, then we moved into VC. Actually, one tip that I would give to anybody was raising a seed round from an institutional investor, so eVentures, that are so that's Rocket Internet. Germany-based. They invested $1 million in us in a seed round, which made it much easier for us to then go into Series A because we were already validated by this big name. But I would definitely say that my experiences with investors, even though my investors are amazing and they have been always extremely supportive of the business, and we were always very much pursuing the so-called smart money, so not just anybody who would give us money, but also people that would give us connections and introductions and be able to bring the business forward with us. I'm finding it quite difficult because of the approach or the bias that if you're an investor, first off, you need to get into a relationship with your entrepreneur. You're going to be building something over a prolonged period of time. So that relationship has to be good, has to be functional. On the other hand, if you're an investor, you want to give your money to a person who's going to very aggressively drive value to bring you the 10x, the 50x, whatever return it is that you're expecting. Now, being a woman, I would be expected to be more collegial, more relationship driven, and if this is the side of myself that I show, then well, maybe I'm not badass enough to really create that incredible business. On the other hand, if I am behaving like that, then I'm a little bit aggressive. And who wants to work with an aggressive woman? If it's a guy, he's entrepreneurial, but if it's a woman, she's a little bit like, she's a little bit of a bitch. So I think it's a very important one to remember, both for the female entrepreneurs, but also to educate investors that this bias exists. And what I've been doing sometimes was in conversations saying, I'm so happy you're different than all the other ones, because this is the challenge we normally face, but you're totally not like that. And perhaps it's just planting a thought in their head.
Ida, you and Karoli actually share a New York-based investor, right? Talk about your experience.
So we have raised 30 million euros. The first time we raised money, we raised from angels, which I found extremely helpful, the first 3 million. I had a small baby and then raised our Series A while visibly pregnant, and then raised our Series B breastfeeding my baby, number 2 baby. And so we went to all these VCs in Silicon Valley with this baby, and they would be like, oh, that's the first time we've ever had a baby in the office. And we're just like, yeah. Like thinking, if the right VC would think that was fine. If they didn't like it, they wouldn't be our VC. And we would have these, world-renowned VCs crawling on the floor to play with my baby daughter. And it worked out fine. I think that's one thing I experience often, that these limitations that we think are there, there's so much in our own heads. We need to just do stuff and create the way we want to have, and not think, oh, I can't bring my baby, I can't breastfeed, or I can't do. Yes, you can, you just do it. And people will be like, okay. So it worked out. I also have male co-founders, and I think that was probably helpful, because if you think that raising money is a numbers game, you will be surprised to see that it's a social game. And a lot of this kind of deal making happens kind of not at the actual pitch situation, but kind of around it. And I find that some of navigating that whole game is maybe a little bit easier if you're not a huge disturbance just by being a different gender. So.
And real quick, Karoli, I want to get to at least one question from the audience. Your experience?
Yeah, when I started, to be honest, there was a situation that made me really humble. So it was a good situation. But when I started with Jobbatical, I started to pitch to angel investors in Estonia initially. Mm-hmm. And I thought I am privileged because I had done so much already. I was very well known. I had been the youngest inventor in the country, so on and so forth. And nobody, there was 10 founders. I was the only woman who was pitching. Nobody even got interested. And then I went, but that made me really go out from my kind of comfort zone. I went to Finland, and it was actually Finland where I got my first angel investor meeting. And the morning that I went to the meeting, the ferry was late, and I was running on my stockings on the pavement for almost 2 miles. But I got that investor on board. And after that, from UK, from Russia, from Latvia, and then the Estonians got interested. So it really, in a way, it was difficult having 1-year-old at home and really having the confidence issues. Maybe it's me, maybe I'm not good enough, and maybe the idea is not good enough. But it actually pushed me out, and those angels have helped us a lot, thanks to the fact that they are from outside.
Do we have, we're really, really almost out of time, but do we have one very, very quick question and very quick answer over here?
My question is for Marta. You obviously trade in financial security as well as payments, and obviously all of us have some form or fashion been subject to some of the cyber issues that are affecting the world. How do you think about that, and how do you think about protecting yourself and your customers from financial crime?
In 30 seconds or less, Marta.
I genuinely believe online transactions are safer than offline transactions. I could come up to a person, punch them in the face, steal their bag and their passport, and go and send money with Western Union. We use machine learning for fraud detection, and this is something I could never do with manpower, women power. We work with pieces of software that analyze all documents that we receive, proving beneficial ownership of funds or their identity, that they had not been manipulated in Photoshop or listed as stolen or forged. And there's a plethora of opportunity within, especially now thinking into the future with artificial intelligence and machine learning, that can help us spot trends, worldwide trends, and all the data that we're collecting to both protect ourselves and protect our customers. I think the customers are becoming more and more aware of the additional safety that they get on the internet, and also the industry. We had to educate the banks that what we do is safer than what they'd presume we were doing. And actually the FCA had done a tremendous job with the whole de-risking situation, where they were allowing money transfer companies to get bank accounts and be able to serve customers, because we were able to prove that the processes that we have are actually making us and them and our customers safer. I'm very happy to carry on.
Yeah, we are out of time, but I could think of like 10 follow-up questions, but we will save it for later. Ida, Marta, and Karoli, thank you so much for joining us.